All right, so let's just talk about this first thing. One thing I wanted to talk about, it's a little unfortunate. We're getting our first picture of, we 6 people, we have 6, well, we're going to say at least 4 soldiers, but we're going to say confirmed 6 troops were unfortunately lost so far in this conflict. And I don't know if we're going to call it a conflict, if we're going to call it a war. I'm not sure what the nomenclature is going to be. This is a thing that we really see the cost of what it means to go out there and fight. And as we see here from left to right, we have a captain. We lost a sergeant first class, and she, the sergeant first class Nicole Armour or Amor. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. She's since been promoted since this photo, and then this specialist, he's been promoted since this photo because he was a sergeant. So this is the first 4 names that we know about for the attack that happened in Kuwait. And just wanted to throw that out there to know that there are faces and names that go with this type of conflict. When we put ourselves out there, not only our treasure, but the more important thing that we're putting out there is our blood. And the thing is that the reason that I'm so big on wanting to know the reason why we're going and doing all this type of attacks is because I was reading some of the minutes from the Continental Congress when we were forming and thinking about the Article 1 of the Constitution and Article 2 of the Constitution. And the reason that the founding fathers really wanted the power to enact war to go to Congress, because they didn't want it in one person's hands. They didn't even want it in a group of men's hands. If you go back and read those minutes, they didn't even want the Senate to have the control by themselves. They wanted it to go to the full powers of Congress, because it was just so important that we know that not one person could let the people go hungry and poor and feed the military and become a huge power and just use the military as he or she see fit. That's why we have the power to call for war to go with the Congress. Now, the president has a lot of power when it comes to different conflicts. First, let's just jump and see what the news is with Ecuador specifically, because I woke up to see news that we decided to go ahead and give that smoke to Ecuadorian drug cartels or gangs or whatever they call themselves.
We are covering some breaking news out of Ecuador tonight. This is from the New York Times, saying the U.S. conducted joint military operations with Ecuador against designated terrorist organizations. That's according to the Pentagon. U.S. Southern Command also posting this video of the operation.
I watched the video myself because I have it here. I found it to be interesting so I follow U.S. Southern Command, U.S. Northern Command, so NORTHCOM, CENTCOM, which is Central Command, which is the area operation for Iran. I like to follow all of them, right? Pacific Command, I don't really follow that too much. But I will say on U.S. Southern Command website, I saw this pop up and I thought it was pretty interesting. Okay, so it looks like we have began military action against Ecuador, against the drug designated terrorist organizations in Ecuador. And the executive branch is the ones who designate people as a terrorist organization. Now, does that stand up to scrutiny? I don't know. We'll see. But it did surprise me when I woke up and saw this headline. Well, let me rephrase it. I was a little bit shocked, but I wasn't surprised. I was shocked as in it happened. We're busy doing other shit, that kind of thing that kind of shocked me. But was I surprised? No. We already kind of have the Venezuela boat strike precedent that started on September 2nd of 2025. And I don't see why this would be any different if we decided to continue to do the same type of stuff. So it's a joint military operation. So the Ecuadorians, in theory, are giving us permission to give smoke to these organizations inside of their country. I wanted to bring this to your attention because if the president decides to continue this, he has to inform the Congress within 48 hours that he's conducted this action. And then what the Congress is supposed to do is they're supposed to vote on the use of military force. Now, there's 2 different things that Congress can vote on. And this is what I wanted to point out to you guys, is that the Congress can either authorize the president the use of military force, which is what the president got in Iraq, President Bush got, because in Iraq, we didn't go to war versus Iraq. We went to war against the groups inside of Iraq. Matter of fact, Iraq was supporting us in that effort. So when we went to war in 2003, that technically was not a war. That was a use of military force that just lingered for 20 years. Same thing with Afghanistan. That same use of military force for Iraq was able to still be used for Afghanistan because we were at war versus the Taliban inside of Afghanistan. We were supporting the Afghanistan, wanted to have them, for them to have a president, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't go to war with non-state actors. We go to war with state actors. So we're not going to war with Ecuador. So if the president gets permission to use the use of military force, that's what it will be called. It won't be called a declaration of war for Ecuador. I wanted to bring this to our attention. I found it interesting. I think technically the Trump administration is going to say, we informed you by putting it on U.S. Southern Command's website. And it is what it is. Y'all do what the hell y'all want to do. We got 60 days to give Ecuador the smoke. I think that's what they're going to do. I did find it a little bit funny, though, because, man, our Department of Defense is freaking busy AF. And I see why our name is now the Department of War, because it seems like that's what we're going to be doing, bro. It really does feel like that's what we're going to be doing. Another thing I found interesting, kind of like correlated because they're both South America, is I saw that the U.S. Department of Justice is starting to turn up heat on the current Venezuelan president. I was talking to my father-in-law who lives in Venezuela. They heard rumblings of this. I had no clue. This is coming from Reuters. The thing is that they're now thinking about bringing charges against President Delcy Rodriguez on money laundering and other stuff. And because if they bring these charges up here in the United States and they indict her in the United States, you know what that signals to her? They might come in the middle of the night and kick my door in and take my ass to the United States. They're trying to pressure her to give up people that they want in that country, to force people to extradite them to the United States. And so they're warning her that we may indict you just like we did your homie. And so I found that to be interesting, that we once again could kick the door into another country and take their leader, because we've already done it once. I find it interesting that in our hemisphere, we're going to basically kind of do what we want. I could see that if Canada or, you know, anyone else in this region gave us enough like gripes, moans, and complaints, we would do the same thing to anybody here. And Ecuador caught me by surprise. Even this new charges, these possible charges against the Venezuelan president caught me by surprise. And so for me personally, I think that they should absolutely take this serious and don't take this as a game. I would like to know, like, what's going on with the Ecuadorian terrorist organization group? Is it drugs? Is it violent actions? Is it coca? Like, I guess I never thought about Ecuador being on my map of items that I need to keep my eye on. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's like the same thing like X? Yeah, you're stupid, bro. Ecuador been running that dang on coca for years, man. The thing I thought was funny is I wanted to take a look at the damage assessment when it comes to Iran and the possibility of boots on the ground. It's some things that kind of started coming up with just some of these congressional meetings. And I thought it was pretty funny that some of these congressional meetings people are coming out with, and they're saying that, well, you know, sometimes, you know, boots on the ground are a thing that we may have to do. But there's also just a lot of damage, and there's so many stranded people all over the place that it just has me concerned. There are some hoes that are stuck in Dubai, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get up out of there.
Travel chaos in Dubai, with several Instagram models and escorts reportedly stranded. Tourism expert John Bernard joins me now. What is the feeling there right now in Dubai?
Thanks, Jane. That's right. With recent travel restrictions, many escorts and IG models have been left stranded here in Dubai looking for a way out. The question now is, which country will most likely take in these escort refugees? Early signs suggest Las Vegas is preparing to take some of them in. Melbourne is also in the mix, particularly with the F1 currently underway. And we've seen a noticeable surge in one-way flights to Miami. Many of these women are currently unable to update their Instagram highlights and unable to charge 500 AED an hour. So it remains a developing situation.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about that. Like, the thing that it was like the first thing I wanted to talk about, but I decided not to lead with that. It's just like, we have all these hoes that are stuck in Dubai. And it's just like, I'm not really sure if they're going to get out safely. You know, it's what happens in Dubai stays in Dubai. But I think if they want to get up out of there, they're going to have to disclose what they do out there, because we're all wondering about that. That's just one of the damage assessment areas I wanted to talk about. A more important area I want to talk about is that Iran is legitimately making contact with our military sites throughout the Middle East. Qatar is our largest military base in the region. We have places in Kuwait, in Iraq. We have stuff all over the place, including Bahrain as well. And so it's not RT News or Russia Today News. This is not from the Iranians. This is from the New York Times, you know, where it's 100% that they definitely made impact on on a lot of our bases and sites. And I think that they've done billions of dollars worth of damage. And even if and when this war ends, it's going to cost us taxpayers so much goddamn money to get these things whipped up together. Like, it's going to cost us so much bread. And so the thing is I'm not 100% sure. This is another reason why I'm kind of like America first, because we've already spent the money to get this shit up and running. The Fifth Fleet was looking fantastic in Bahrain. We had this big, beautiful satellite dish that was in Bahrain. We had the Qatari airport. And the thing is that I think we left too much up to other countries to protect our shit. Okay. We left it up to too many countries to protect our shit. For instance, in Qatar, we had an agreement with the host nation, which is Qatar, that they were going to mostly protect the skies, even though we have a military base there. So they bought THAAD systems from us. They have interceptors from us. But when I say us, I mean they got authorized to buy the stuff from places like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, etc. And apparently it was just not enough, because we're really having a hard time with these drones. Although we're intercepting 90% of ballistic missiles and drones, some of them are still getting through. This is a hit here that took place in Bahrain. Look at them taking out one of our warehouses and radar sites. Satellite imagery showing that at least one radar dome was destroyed. I'm very concerned, because it's not just what's happening right now. It's what we're going to have to repair when this is all said and done. Look at the damage that's being done with some of our terminals and our warehouses. How much is this going to cost? I think it could cost us upwards of like at least $2-3 billion. That one satellite in Bahrain itself was $1.1 billion, and it was destroyed. So I'm hoping that we're able to not only walk away with this with not having to repair a bunch of stuff, but I think that, in my opinion, some of this stuff we're just going to have to 100% abandon. Like, in my opinion, I don't know if it's worth it to rebuild the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Look how susceptible it is to strikes by Iran. It has clearly been shown that I don't know if it's worth it for us to keep that. I just don't know. What do y'all think? Do you think it's something where, when this is all said and done, we should go back to Bahrain, we should crack our little fingers, and we should be prepared to rebuild? I'm kind of in the no camp, but I'm also kind of, you know, a little biased, because my mindset is like, hey, we built it, it didn't work out, you know, let's go and get up out of there. But everybody's a little bit different. It's so concerning, not only just the damage to our military bases, but it also is a concern to me that we're depleting some of our weaponry pretty quickly. It's to the point where the president is ready to summon some of the top defense contractor executives into the Pentagon and or the White House. I mean, we're going to have places like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed Martin Missile and Fire Control, BAE, General Aviations. These are some heavy hitter CEOs that are supposed to be summoned down and invited to a meeting to talk about how fast can we replenish our stockpile. Because not only were we giving a lot of support to Israel when they went into Gaza, but we've been using a lot of stuff just in this conflict, and it could cost around $50 billion budget that the White House might ask for just to replenish this stuff. That's a lot. And the thing is, it's not as just simple as like calling them in and telling them like, hey, we need you to whip up some more, Patriot missiles. We just need you to kind of make those happen for us. That could be a thing as well. But I think that it's not just as simple as saying we need you to whip some more of those up for us. it might be a whole total rehaul of the contracting process, of some of the QC process, because when a major player like Lockheed Martin or General Atomics or Sigma Tech, they win awards, there's so much hoops that they have to go through, T's that they have to be crossed, I's that have to be dotted in order for things to totally pass a QC test. I don't know if they're going to relax some of that stuff in the White House and in the Defense Acquisition Corps just to make those things expedite and come along even faster, because a $4 million Patriot missile, not only is the cost that prohibits like building them very fast, but also just like all the rules that have to be followed. So we'll see how that goes as we try to replenish that type of stuff. I also found it funny. When I say funny, I mean like, yeah, I saw this as being predictable. We're starting to see Republicans who feel like they have the need to defend this, even defending the possibility of there being boots on the ground. I showed y'all some of the comments yesterday with, Tommy Tuberville and Josh Smith from Missouri. Now we're starting to see like more explicit, like, well, boots on the ground might be something we have to do. Let's check this out.
I know you have to keep a lot of cards close to the vest on this, but we've already lost 6 troops, sir. The president says he does expect more. A lot of Americans and military families want to know if their loved ones are about to be deployed to Iran for this. Will there be boots on the ground? The president has yet to rule that out.
I certainly hope not. If there are boots on the ground, I hope they're not on the ground any longer than the boots on the ground were in Venezuela. But I think that that's something the president knows that members of Congress certainly hope doesn't happen, but sometimes that's unavoidable in a situation like this. And you mentioned 6 troops had lost their lives. Some had been from Fort Knox in Kentucky, my home state. So, we're devastated, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with the families of anyone that's been lost or wounded thus far.
We're starting to put into the position where we're talking about putting troops on the ground. And I think that they're starting to use that type of language because right now the initial plan of possibly arming the Kurds, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, might not be the way to go. Because the rumors are that we're thinking about arming the Kurds and we're thinking about getting them ready and getting them weapons that they need and getting them ready to rock and roll. I don't know if that's going to be the plan that we're going to end up doing and it's going to fully work, because it's not as simple as we give the Kurds, the Kurdish forces, the best weapons in the world, and they go in and be our troops. And they go in and be our troops in the Middle East, and they actually go into Iran. I don't think it's that simple. I think that for me personally, we're going to have to see, we're either going to have to be okay with whatever next leadership is chosen by the Iran leadership, or we may end up putting boots on the ground ourselves. That's why I'm just saying I wish we didn't have to even go in there at all, because we wouldn't even have to be entertaining this idea. But now we're thinking about doing something I don't think is going to work, in my personal opinion, but I want to be wrong on this. So the CIA is working with Kurdish forces aimed with sparking a popular uprising in Iran. What they want to do is they want to arm the Kurds. Now, you guys may be wondering, well, who the hell are the Kurds? The Kurds are the forces that whenever we need them, we give them weapons and money, and we have them go do shit because they already have grievances in the area. We armed the Kurds in Syria. And let me just tell you why. The reason I think that this is going to be a hard thing to do is because if we take a look, this is the hypothetical Kyrgyzstan that they want. It doesn't exist, but this is how they imagine themselves to have their own land one day. But we armed the Kurds in northern Syria. We wanted them to help us out, and they did. And, literally a month ago, we kind of hold the Kurds. We kind of abandoned them. And now the new president in Syria has released a bunch of people from prison that are literally enemy of the Kurds, and we ignore them. We don't give a fuck. So now we're expecting to arm the Kurds again. And the thing is that the Kurds are mostly situated on the western side of Iran. So in order for the Kurds to effectively do an attack, they have to come in from the west. And it's not like the Kurds are this extremely well trained force. We're either going to have to embed ourselves to give them better training, or we're going to have to just say we hope they're really, really good. That's why I'm thinking that even to the Kurds idea, because we would hope that the Kurds would be able to force the IRGC to go in so many places where they embed themselves that we can then start to launch strikes on areas where the IRGC is embedded, where they're holding down because they're being attacked by the Kurds. And then we hope that the people of Iran do an uprising of their own. And along with the Kurds and along with the people uprising, they have their whole new Iran. Does that sound like the plan, or am I tripping? Does that sound like, I don't know, man. Does that sound like that shit gonna work? Especially the fact that the Kurds know that we hold them in the past. We getting deeper and deeper into this war. That's what I see for the damage assessment. They've hit our bases. We're having a hard time intercepting every single missile and drone. It's costing us money. That's another part of the damage assessment. Unfortunately, we've already lost 6 American lives in troops. We don't even know about the State Department. You know, our embassies were hit as well. That's stuff that's not even known to us. We don't know how much was lost when it comes to the State Department employees. And we've also lost 2 F-15 fighter jets, apparently taken down by F-18 by himself. That's concerning. 1 F-18 versus 3 F-15s. I know that they're different outfits, but he launched 3 missiles and took out all 3 of them. And he was a Kuwaiti pilot. Bro, that's a little concerning for me. What do y'all think about that? I mean, are you thinking that the Kurdish plan is going to be a go? Do you think that we're going to have to put boots on the ground? But you know, one thing that I also find interesting is that since World War II, we have fired the torpedoes. Okay. And we now have multiple vessels in multiple areas around the world that are taking on water. But this is the first Iranian ship that is taking on water because a U.S. Navy submarine torpedoed and sank an Iranian naval frigate. This is the Dana off the coast of Sri Lanka. We're going to talk about that here in a second because I'm a little bit concerned about that. But beside me being concerned about that, look at this freaking fantastic strike that we did, bro. I don't care what you think about what's going on with the war. You have got to give it up that we're able to use our periscope. We're able to hit them with with our 8K infrared thermal cameras. We're able to see this strike. Look at the strike, bro. I don't care what you think about this war. It has to impress you, the training and the military might that we have put into our troops' hands. This frigate looks like a literal Hot Wheel toy. Like it almost looks like it was drawn up in a Pixar animation movie and we're watching it. That's how powerful a 650-pound weapon is, hitting the outer steel and then the inner steel of a frigate. That ship is done for. Matter of fact, we know it's done for because they have 101 people missing, 78 injured. We have not torpedoed a ship since World War II. And it is a big feat that we're able to be so precise. But I'm a little bit concerned about something, guys. Just a little bit concerned about something. All right, let's take a look at this. This is the Persian Gulf. Okay, this is Iran, this is Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, Jordan, and Armenia, and that's where the war is going on currently. It's over here. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. This is where the war is currently happening. Okay, we sunk that frigate off the coast of Sri Lanka. It is argued to say that we may have sunk it in the Bay of Bengal because the Iranians were trying to get their ship out of the Arabian and Persian area in hopes that because it's not in the war area, it wouldn't get attacked. We sunk the ship off the coast of Sri Lanka. Are you not concerned about the possibility of WW3 if you're one of these Asian companies, if now the war seems to be in your backyard? If you're Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, or India, who's a powerhouse, but Indonesia and Malaysia are not powerhouses. Neither is Myanmar, who's currently in a conflict right now. Are you not concerned about the fact that in your waters is now the sinking vessel of an Iranian frigate? That does make me concerned because I don't know what the laws of this conflict are. I don't know what they are. Imagine if the Iranian ship was able to successfully take itself off the coast of New Zealand in the Tasmanian Sea, in the Tasman Sea. Imagine it was able to get itself way over here, hoping that it wouldn't get sunk. Would you not be concerned if you were Australia and the U.S. submarine sucked an Iranian ship off your coast just because we're at war over there? I would be concerned about that. I'd be like, well, hold up now. Y'all we just going all over the world and we gonna do this shit? We just going all over the world. I am a little concerned about that, guys. That's why I'm fearful of this just continuing to be more widespreading, just going all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And so when I see you sinking the ship, although that was a fantastic hit, it was a clean ass strike. Okay. Good strike on target. Very concerned about the location of the strike. Very concerned. I hope that I hope the State Department is talking to our partners in Asia, any partners that we have, whether it's Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, India, who is a nuclear power, Pakistan, who's a nuclear power. You're talking to all those countries. So the, we still have sirens going off in Tel Aviv. We still have a lot of stuff going down all over the place. It's just something that I'm not sure where this all goes. I know that I'm hoping that this starts to wind down, but the fact that we're getting notifications of more military conflicts, specifically going on with Ecuador, I think Cuba's next, bro. I think Cuba's next. I thought Cuba was next in mid-January, and apparently I may have been a little bit wrong, because apparently it was Ecuador was next. But when I say Cuba's next, it doesn't mean it may go in sequential order. It may be another country that we deem terrorist organizations, and we may say, hey, Cuba, writing's on the wall, bro. We just went after Ecuador, and I know I kind of fucks with some of these other countries such as El Salvador, but I went after them too. And I know the president likes me, but I had to tell him to sit on his hands because I needed to go after some groups in his country. Oh yeah, I was just over there in Grenada. You didn't even know where Grenada was at, did you, Cuba? Yeah, you might want to give me everything. Something else I find to be interesting, that if this happens, I'm going to take this as a complete failure of this entire conflict so far. So it is rumored that the most favored person to succeed the Supreme Leader Khamenei's son is expected to succeed the Supreme Leader. If this happens, this is a literal L for the United States, because it was our intent to take out the regime, take out their navy, which we seem to be doing a good effing job at. If his son succeeds him, it will be an L. It has two things have to happen. If his son succeeds, if it becomes the new Supreme Leader, if the clerics decide to make him the most powerful figure in Iran, and where millions of people will respect him as being their leader, and we also close up shop and leave that country and stop bombing, that's a literal L for us. It's a literal L, because I don't care how folks try to spin it. If we go there with this and we leave the Houthis, that's who it is. Appreciate that, Richie Luxury. It's an L. And this is why I'm just like, I would have preferred old age to take his daddy out. You know what I'm talking about? His daddy was 86. What is he, 58? He was born in 1969. So he's 2 years younger than my mom. He's not aging the best. If he does become the next leader, right? He's 57 years old. There's a possibility that we leave, Israel will be pissed, and we could just say that we did what we had to do, and it is what it is. But this conflict tracker that I look at all the time, this whole little conflict tracker here over Iran, it's not going to change. The color is still going to say that we're concerned about what's going on in Iran. And this is the global conflict tracker that I'm looking at, guys. You can just Google it, and it just tells you different conflicts that's going on around the world. The one that I'm concerned with right now is Iran's war with Israel and the United States. Critical, and it's worsening. That's what it says right here. I use this tracker all the time to look at what does the United States have going on around the world that could affect my pockets, whether it's my taxpayer dollars or offering of blood when it comes to some of my brethren in arms. Very, very interesting place to take a look at. But what do you guys think about all that? I do find it interesting that we now have Ecuador, torpedoes, damage, possible boots on the ground, the Kurds. I didn't even talk about Lebanon and Israel because, quite frankly, I feel like that's a fight they need to handle on their own. If it was me, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't know how Lebanon's built up. I know the fact that Israel feels bold enough to bomb this country that's next to them because I believe, that they feel like they just have the latitude because of the terrorist group that's in that nation. I don't know, me, I would probably unload the clip. Not going to just be bombing my country, but that's why I couldn't be involved in this shit, bro. I hope y'all have a good morning. I myself got to brew up something real quick and get ready for a meeting I have coming up. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on Ecuador, our damage assessment, this torpedo, and then possibly arming the Kurds. I don't know how that's going to work out. But listen, if this is your first time stopping by, man, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.